Hello, I'm Chris Godberg here in our Vortex, and I thought I'd do a video talking about this word came into my mind today when I was just having a lazy Saturday. We're doing painting recently, as you can see behind, but I'm in painter mode again, which is good. But I had this word basically come into my mind, and it was the long game. I've been thinking about a lot about art and being an artist in general recently, and what it is to become an artist, what that journey's like, and it's an often frustrating journey. It's not always. It can be turbulent, basically, and it can be tough for sure. Essentially, definitely money often it can be tough because especially if you're a painter. So my primary artistic expression has always been painting. That's always been the primary one. I've got dabble in digital, draw as well, of course for painting, because you can't really paint without being drawing really, to be honest. But yeah, so this word that came to me, the long game. What were some of the intuitive associated thoughts I related to this word that came into my mind just as I was watching a bunch of videos about art in general and art practice and art process and everything. So I'd say the long game is basically, in so many words, it's I don't give a, you know what I mean? So basically it's authenticity and basically just doing the artistic practice that you want, separate from the concerns of what the market demands or trends and that sort of thing. Now, this is a tough one actually, because I guess as an artist or a painter, you definitely are aware. Should be aware of what's going on in the sort of market of art. That is somewhat important for real. But then I think if the market starts dictating the sort of painting you're doing, then I think you are probably sacrificing something of yourself, which is what makes your art, right? If you're making art, then by definition, hopefully it's a expression that comes from within. I know there's obviously different types of painting. Some people are portrait painters and they just want to do photorealistic paintings of a subject, and that's fine. It's completely legitimate. And the draftsmanship actually that comes with that type of art is you have to be an exceptional draftsman really to do sort of photorealistic painting. I know I certainly can't do it. I can do half decent renderings and expressions in paint and pencil, but I couldn't do something that looks photorealistic completely. But anyway, that's an aside. The long game, from my perception, is basically consolidating art history, taking in art history, getting to know lots of other artists, especially older ones. That's important. Always, if you have that spark for art and you're passionate about it and you're realistic about it and you are not arrogant about it, actually, I think that's quite important. And that's okay to be confident in your work. I'm fairly confident in my work now. I'm 36. I've been doing this stuff since I was 18. And I've worked very hard at it, often to the detriment of other aspects of my life. For real, my art does come fairly, it's one of the top priorities in my life, basically. Which can often be a lonely path, but it is a path worth walking if you're ready for it, basically. So, because often it does mean going, beyond the wishes of your parents, your peers, and breaking outside of those wishes. In a certain sense, some people would probably say it's selfish existence, but nothing else is better than just living your own individual life. It's self-actualization, actually, in psychological terms, in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you're, basically sustenance is right at the bottom of that, so getting food. But unless you're self-actualizing, then and you've got that desire for painting, and something that lives within you, then you're gonna get ill. You're gonna get stressed. If you don't let that side of yourself be expressed, because if you've got the natural talent for it and you've got the drive, you have to do it. Really, it's like a compulsion. I know for myself, it's like an addiction. But and like I've even struggled with addiction issues, but painting is a positive addiction. Yeah, I'm drinking wine now, but it's just one for tonight. One glass, not one bottle. But yeah, the long game. From my, like I said, I'm intuiting these ideas. I think it's authenticity. It's being authentic to yourself, not worrying too much about the markets. That's the second thing. Sort of relinquishing the concern for what the market wants, because and essentially anyway, I think in theory, if you are producing original work, the market will eventually notice anyway. And yes, it might not be till you're 45 if you're like 20 now, but sorry, that's how it works a lot of the time. It doesn't mean that you just work for free. Obviously, artists should be paid. Artists should be. It is labour. Like it is a physical labour. Like this painting behind me. It's just like acrylic Indian ink on canvas. Canvas cost something in the region of £30 or £40. That's one cost. Indian ink, at least 4 colours was 50. You're talking even before the base materials cost and everything. That's like easily £60, easily, probably more even. And then my time, which if you cost it at like £50 an hour even, was, I think this painting took me about 3 or 4 hours. So you're talking at least a few £100s there, like 200, 300 plus. And that's just to meet the costs of the production of the work. Pricing art's always difficult, but I mean, it just depends where you're at in your career, how established you are, obviously, and how much you can be, how much self-confidence you have. I mean, if you have self-confidence, that's a good thing. But like I said, don't go in. Like I'm 36 now. I've been doing this thing for a while, but I'm always talking to artists who are older than me and painters who are older than me, because you'll learn. That's the only way you learn, is from other artists, just talking to them. And finding those little bits of knowledge. It's like almost like accessing your muse, but through mentors, right? So, which is very useful. And these people are your guides in this hard life you're going to have. And it's not going to. I'm not saying it's going to all be hard, but at the start of really pursuing painting or drawing or art, being an artist, you will struggle. Look, I in my 20s I did all that, and I had a great time. I made some good work even. I had solo shows in London, and group shows and everything. Like in London, which is a capital of culture, really, in the UK for art. Anyway, fine art especially. But there was a lot of hard work. I would often fall behind on my day jobs because I was so driven. Like I would literally. I remember one job I had one job for like a year. I was doing IT support basically for charity. But I would literally come home. Luckily, my studio wasn't far away, and I purposefully chose it for that reason. Like it was a cheap area of London, and one of the more affordable studios, because the studio provision in London is ridiculous anyway. But the other studio providers that I had were the good guys. Were basically trying to improve that entire situation. Anyway, I digress. And I just really drove myself to like 4 hours every day. More or less every day after work, after a long DLR journey. I'm going to that studio and I'm going to work, and I might produce utter crap for 2 hours. I might be working towards something, but I am working. And that's a hard thing to do. Sometimes you do have to have rest, obviously, as well, to just gather new information or experience, basically. But I don't think, if you're going to be a painter, then you have to be prepared for. It's a long game. Look, there's thousands of painters in London. Just take one example. There's thousands of painters in London, thousands of them, and they all want the same thing basically, which is to make their work pretty much, and maybe get a living from it as well if they can. But realistically, that's a hard goal to get to. And there's many different ways you can get there. Like I'm sort of emerging, I guess. Like I've had group shows, been involved in art theory, I'm not an unsuccessful artist. I've sold work. I've sold actually quite a lot of work, to be honest, like drawings and paintings for the last 10 years. I've actually sold quite a fair few. It's like here and there, and that's all just on my own back, and like people just contacting me. I don't have an agent or gallery representation or anything. But I actually do like just being independent as well in a way, because if I had to have somebody breathing down my neck, say do more of this, do more of that, do more in this style, I'd almost feel like this is feeling too much like work now, you know? which is why I'm trying to get, what I'm doing now in my work in general, in the broader sense of the word, is just basically do it good on the do the long game. Like, I'm probably going to be around on this planet for 40 or 50 more years. I'm 36 now. Obviously in the future, if I got the offer of a gallery representation, or if I somehow managed to get a gallery representation, I'm not going to say no to it, as long as the terms and conditions are right, of course. But at the same time, there's nothing wrong with just doing the work for like, even if it's 10 years, like that's what I've done for 15 years actually, really. It's been intensely work, sometimes to the detriment of other things, but you have to find your own balance. Everyone has their own dilemmas with that. And it is, you do have to sort of make sacrifices. I mean, I'm even self-taught, so I've not studied at university. I'm a self-taught painter, so I started off in a garage. But then I've sort of have taught myself anyway, because I've done loads of live drawing classes, studies. I've been around artists since I was 21, just older artists who have been through the system, and painting and everything else, contemporary art and all sorts. So in a way, I did get an education, because I founded a co-op when I was 24. I'm 25. I can't remember the lecture picture off. So I did form a cooperative, which is basically where I got my education in painting. I had a lot of painters telling me very directly, I think you should consider this instead of doing that. And that's all you need. Basically, constructive criticism from other artists. I mean, an art university education is useful, don't get me wrong. For networking and everything, obviously, it's very useful. But it's not really where you get the stuff. You get the stuff from probably some degree of natural inborn talent for image making and hard work. It's as simple as that. And the long game is just basically recognising that, guess what? You're going to have to work hard if you actually want to produce good work and could produce paintings. You're just going to have to work at it. Work. I mean, it's like this painting here. Like, this is a new development of style for me. It's somewhat, anyway, black and white, a little bit of blue and Indian ink. And I quite like that painting actually so far. But you don't just arrive there being able to do, paintings that you feel somewhat satisfied, because you're never fully satisfied with a painting. But yeah, anyway, that's a bit of a jumbled one, but that's some thoughts on what I think this phrase that comes to my mind, the long game, means to me. And also means helping out other artists. I mean, we're all a community here, we're all struggling, let's be honest, like for money and whatever. Like, I'm quite privileged in the sense that I have my coding skills, like I have my computer degree, and I also can do JavaScript development, so that's the way I've managed to earn a living, and scrape by a living really as well, because even though I do the JavaScript work, that can be quite stressful sometimes. It's not always been easy, to be honest. And but yeah, when I actually burnt out last year, to be honest, a bit from coding. Anyway, enough about that. You can go on my No Art Nerd channel if you want to find out more about that horror show. Anyway, I hope this video has been interesting or useful, at least to anybody. If you want to like or subscribe if you're a painter or an artist or thinker of any level, or just someone who likes being creative, I'm going to try and do more of these talking head videos where I give general advice about my experience and what I've enjoyed, and about art, and sometimes the complications as well, I guess. So yeah, have a good one, and in a bit.